Hey everyone, welcome back to the Listen Up Girl podcast. Before I start today's episode, I wanted to ask if you could please go to the description of this podcast and click on the audience survey link. This helps me understand who my audience is, where I can get your thoughts on what's working with this podcast and my other podcasts, Everything and Anything and a Bit Gay. I have a lot of ideas for new guests, new shows, new topics, new themes. But before I do that, I would love if you could take 10 minutes or less and just complete the survey. Thanks so much. But let's get back into today's episode of Listen Up Girl. It's your go-to queer news podcast where we break down the biggest stories shaping LGBTQ plus life, politics, entertainment, and culture around the globe. I'm your host, Zach Randles-Friedman, and today is Friday, November the 28th, and let's dive into today's headlines. First story is Jinkx Monsoon to play Judy Garland in End of the Rainbow. Broadway's favorite witch and two-time RuPaul's Drag Race champion is stepping into an iconic role of Judy Garland in a brand new London production of This Isn't Just Another Theater Role, it's one of the most emotionally complex Judy Garland portrayals ever written. Set in 1968, the play follows Garland during her last months of her life as she prepares for a residency at the Talk of the Town. She's battling severe exhaustion, deep financial troubles, and relentless demands of fame, problems that haunted her for decades. Monsoon version will explore Garland as both legend and fragile human being. Monsoon said Garland has been a long life inspiration, explaining Judy Garland came into my life like many through entertainment, but she stays in my life because of her story. Her tale is one we can't forget. The production will run from May 15th to June 21st, 2026 at the Soho Theater, directed by Rupert Hands. Fans are already calling this one of Jinkx's most important roles, and honestly, I don't think they're wrong. Next is a disappointing story where the Trump administration orders agencies not to recognize World AIDS Day. Reported by the New York Times in a stunning reversal of long-standing U.S. policy, the Trump administration has instructed federal agencies not to publicly acknowledge or promote World AIDS Day this year. For context, World AIDS Day has been observed every December 1st since 1988. Presidents on both sides, from George W. Bush to Barack Obama, issued statements, hosted events, or supported AIDS awareness in major ways. Even Trump, during his first term, released proclamations, though conspicuously erased LGBTQ communities. But this new directive is different. Internal State Department emails reveal that diplomats, contractors, and grant-funded organizations have been told to refrain from publicly promoting World AIDS Day through any communication channel. That includes social posts, speeches, media interviews, everything. Advocates say this pivot undermines decades of global HIV work and signals a disturbing shift away from LGBTQ plus health concerns. It also deeply symbolic, coming just 1 year after President Biden displayed AIDS memorial quilt panels at the White House, the first president ever to do so. At a moment when HIV prevention and treatment still require urgent action, the silence is deafening. Next, EU court rules Poland must recognize same-sex marriages from abroad. The European Court of Justice has issued a historic ruling. Poland must recognize same-sex marriages performed in other EU countries. The ruling stems from a couple who married in Berlin in 2018 and relocated to Poland, where officials refused to register their marriage. The couple challenged the decision, and now the ECJ says Poland must acknowledge their union under EU free movement and residency rights. The court clarified this does not force Poland to legalize same-sex marriage domestically, but Poland may no longer deny married same-sex couples their EU protections. That includes residency, medical access, banking rights, and family legal recognition. This is a major victory for LGBTQ plus families navigating restrictive legal environments, especially in countries like Poland, Hungary, and Slovakia, where conservative governments have rolled back LGBTQ plus protections. Our next story is about Cher. She reportedly is nearing £13 million Netflix deal for docuseries. Cher, the pop queen of reinvention and the mother of all mothers, is reportedly close to signing a massive £13 million contract for a 7-episode documentary series. The project, tentatively titled Sharing Her Story, would take viewers on a deep dive into a 6-decade career, her marriages to Sonny Bono and Greg Allman, and the highs and lows of her personal and professional life. The timing would align with the long-awaited second volume of her memoir, scheduled for 2026. While Netflix hasn't confirmed the deal, insiders say it's good as done. If it moves forward, expect unprecedented behind-the-scenes access to something she historically guarded closely. Given her iconic status in the LGBTQ+ culture, this docuseries could easily become one of the most watched queer-adjacent projects of 2026. I think it will be amazing. Next, MAGA Invasion planned at Disneyland on the same day as Gay Days. A conservative group known as the 805 Patriots have announced MAGA Invasion meetup at Disneyland on February 28th. This is the exact same day as the park's long-running Gay Days celebration. Organizers insist the overlap is accidental, and they're calling the event strictly recreational, not a protest. They're encouraging attendees to wear MAGA hats and make Disney great again. Disneyland reserves the right to deny entrance based on inappropriate attire. The unexpected overlap has LGBTQ+ advocates watching closely. Gay Days brings thousands of queer park-goers, families, and allies to Disneyland each year, and mixing with that political cosplay could get awkward quickly. Both groups say they plan to enjoy the park peacefully, but time will tell. Next, a UK man loses lawsuit claiming Pride display caused psychological distress. A NatWest customer in Kent, England, tried and failed to sue the bank after claiming a branch's Pride display caused him severe psychological distress. He argued that he has autism and specific phobias related to Pride flags, and that the display conflicted with his religious views as a Catholic. He demanded the bank remove Pride materials and pay him £35,000. The court rejected the case entirely, ruling that Pride displays do not constitute discrimination or targeted harassment, and that businesses have the right to celebrate diversity and inclusion. Legal experts say the decision reinforces protection for LGBTQ+ visibility in public and commercial spaces. That guy needs serious psychological help, I think. And that's a wrap for today's news. So take a breath, take some leftover Thanksgiving food, because tomorrow I'm back with even more stories from the political world, entertainment, activism, and queer cultural universe. I'm Randles-Friedman, and you're listening to the Listen Up Girl podcast. If you haven't already subscribed or followed the show, please do so, and I'll be back tomorrow with more LGBTQ+ news.